After coaching 56 small business owners in NLP, I asked my most successful students, what was the biggest difference that mindset made to your business and sales? I noticed 7 surprising lessons that helped them to double or even triple their sales without changing the sales process. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what they did differently and how you can use these NLP lessons to grow your business too. Lesson number 1. So even though every NLP training tells you should always have an outcome for everything you do, most people still don't do this right. In fact, most cases it's even worse. Now, I've been teaching people how to set goals using NLP for over 20 years. In fact, if you want to get access to my personal goal setting journal, I'll drop the link in the description. So one of the biggest mistakes I see people making who are new to NLP is that they set repulsive goals. So what do I mean by repulsive goals? Well, goals can be either attractive or repulsive. Now, an attractive goal is something you're looking forward to in the future, so you're attracted to it. On the other hand, a repulsive goal is a goal that has a hidden element underneath it and you're trying to avoid it. For example, if somebody says to you, I want to lose weight, they have to picture themselves overweight in order to want to lose that excess weight. So it's a negative self-image or a repulsive goal. Another example might be, let's say somebody says, I want to be rich, I want to make £1 million, I want to make £5 million. And I found that every time I speak to these people and ask, why do you want to, why? And I keep asking that over and over again, why they want to become rich. Eventually it'll expose a repulsive goal, such as, I don't want to be broke, which is again a self-image of being broke. So they're really trying to get away from that negative self-image. A truly attractive goal will always have an underlying positive nature. So what's the lesson? Consider your final destination. What are you trying to achieve? The end goal that deeply connects you with your reasons for wanting it. Consider what the goal will do for you, for the people around you, for your family, and for the planet maybe. And if all that's positive, then that's probably an attractive goal. So what's the lesson? Start at the end and work back from there. Okay, let's move on to lesson number 2. Lesson number 2, the next biggest mistake I see people make around NLP is going all in on their goals. So what I mean by that is, if you're really passionate about something, it's so easy to fall into that trap. In fact, society kind of encourages, we're told you have to work hard and burn the midnight oil. And if you do that, you'll win. But actually, this is a bit of a fallacy, because the reality is that most people will burn out using this strategy. I know from my past experiences, it just doesn't work long term. Sure, you can cram for a test or you can do a short sprint that way, but it's a recipe for burnout and depression, to be quite honest. The reality is you need to build a muscle around consistency. And the way you do that is using something I call habit hooks. Now, a habit hook is formed by taking an existing habit you have and then use that as a trigger to hook on a new habit. For example, some people make coffee first thing in the morning. So a great habit hook is to place a small journal beside your coffee maker, and while the coffee is brewing, to sit down and just write down 3 things you completed in the past day. It takes like 60 seconds, but it will set your day up for success, because there's always something small you can celebrate. Maybe it's because you got up before the alarm went off, or maybe it's because you got to the gym, or you went out for a walk, or you did some exercise that stretches you. For you, maybe it might be getting that annoying job finally done, or finishing that piece of work that you've been trying to avoid. The reason it's so important is that every day we have worries and things that go wrong, and we complain to people and we tell them about all the little upsets and the little scoops that happen every day. So how many times have you heard people say, you'll never believe the terrible thing that happened to me yesterday? It's not so often you hear people celebrating the little wins. Now, it was Patanjali in the book Yoga Sutra who said, where there be negative thinking, let there be contemplation to the opposite. What that means is that we should spend as much time celebrating our little wins as we do complaining about our problems. So most people will hold off to celebrate the big wins. But think about it. If you only have 1 or 2 big wins all year and you're focused on contemplating all the worries and the problems, you're probably going to spend most of your time focusing on the problems. Your life will be full of problems. So by celebrating the little wins, you encourage your unconscious mind to look for more of them and set up the consistency around helping you to build confidence as you see more of those patterns of success in your life. The lesson is, celebrate the little wins and the big wins will follow. Now, I often hear people say that there's nothing wrong with a little white lie. That's okay. But what I've found from 20 years of listening to people talk about goals and then not following through on their word is that the people who can't be honest to themselves are the people most likely to sabotage their own future and sabotage their business as well. It's the little things, like telling a customer you'll call them tomorrow, or that you'll get a job done before the close of business that day, but you never do. And it's not just the empty promises that makes you look flaky and unprofessional, but the real problem is that your unconscious mind is always listening to the words and trying to match your words to your intentions. But if your intentions don't match your words that you speak, then you confuse your unconscious mind and you create conflict within yourself. This is the nature of self-sabotage, and it's probably the reason that a lot of people fail in business. They're lying to themselves and to everybody else about how busy they are. But the reality is that any successful business is busy. It's the biggest fallacy today that if you think you can make people happy by giving them false promises, or if you don't say no, maybe it's because you don't let people down. But it's not true. The reality is that people don't judge you by what you say. People judge you by your actions. And this is especially true when you speak to yourself about what you want. When your intentions match your actions, your words become law in the universe, which means that if you do what you say you're going to do, you create consistency in yourself and you create confidence in your business. So lesson number 3 is about keeping your promises. Okay. So let's move on to lesson number 4. One of the most misquoted presuppositions of NLP is there's no failure, only feedback. But most people get that wrong. Many NLP practitioners say this means that it's okay to fail. No, that's not exactly what it says. It says it's only okay to fail if you learn something from the experience so you don't do it again. But that's actually only half the equation. The reality is that it's really about teaching people it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to get done. Now, David Allen wrote a book called Getting Things Done, and his approach to getting things done is used in enterprises all over the world, including places like IBM and Microsoft. The reality is not about failure, it's about not being afraid to fail if you can learn something. The real lesson here is to move fast and learn. But the second half of this lesson is also to look at success. So many practitioners don't do this. They see success as not as important as failure. I learned from failure. Are you joking me? No, that's not what it's about. Success is what NLP is built on. These are the trail of techniques that create the lessons of mastery. And what makes NLP so powerful in the world of therapy and the coaching and business consulting and in teaching and marketing and sales is the ability to model success. It's all about success. So you have to ask what worked? What's the key things that cause success? Also remember that nature abhors a vacuum. So when you set out to do something, the task at hand will always fill the time that you give it. So you need to give yourself less time than you think you need to get the job done. So the lesson here is move fast and learn the lessons about failure and success. Okay, lesson 5. So one of the greatest benefits of learning NLP at a deep level is you gain personal power. You get agency and choice about what you can do, and you truly know that you can do whatever you set your mind to. But this is also one of the downfalls of NLP too, because if you know you have the capability to achieve success in any area, it's easy to generalize that and believe that you can achieve success in every area. But this just isn't practical. By far the biggest mistake I see NLP practitioners and many business owners make is they don't ask for help. So they believe they can do everything themselves. They just need to believe. And the reality is it's simply not true. There's a great phrase in business I really like. It's like, know what you're doing and do what you know. So if you're familiar with AI and OpenAI, ChatGPT and things like that, you might have heard of one of the founders, a guy called Sam Altman. Now, he was also a very successful entrepreneur before ChatGPT. And one of the most important pieces of advice I heard him give is to not go it alone, to have a co-founder or a partner that is as passionate as you in your business. And this is purely for practical reasons. So when you set up a new business, even like a service business, like a coaching business or a consultancy business, or even a trade business, there's always so much more that needs to be done beyond just the customer contact hours. The big four are marketing, sales, operations, and cash flow management. And if you don't have a strong handle on the big four, your business will probably struggle. What that means is that you'll never have enough time if you're a solopreneur. You have to learn how to ask for help by delegating to people, by hiring people, maybe having employees or asking family members to help you, or freelancers, or people on Fiverr, or getting a virtual assistant, or asking for help, or using software automation systems to help you move faster. A lesson I want you to remember is that running any kind of a business is 10 times harder than having a job. And if you're not willing to embrace the late nights and the busy weekends in the early stages, you probably will struggle. But the trick here is to eliminate all those little jobs that are not your core expertise. Start with the small tasks, maybe get a virtual assistant or get a family member to help you. Bucket your task into £1 tasks, £10 tasks, £100 tasks, and £1,000 tasks. So what does that mean? Outsource the low value tasks first, then the higher value tasks. So what's the lesson here? The lesson is to ask for help. Now, on the subject of asking for help, another common problem I see with small business owners making, especially in the growth phase, is trying to hire the perfect team. So they hire so-called perfect person or the perfect team, and then they're amazed they don't have the same approach or attention to detail that you have. They keep missing stuff, or they're not as good as you thought they would be. And the reality is that this is really just pure ego, and you need to just get over yourself. The reality is, of course, they're not as good as you. They have lower standards. That's why they're willing to take a job as an employee. If somebody was as passionate and as driven as you, they wouldn't be an employee, they'd be your competition. So what our best students have said is they learned to lower their expectations, not their standards for new hires, and instead focused on repeatable processes and procedures, and that's what makes a huge difference. So what's the secret? Hire a crap team, then train them, because if you can get them to follow instructions and a process that's repeatable, not only will you end up with a great team, but you'll also have more consistency and repeatability in your business, and you can grow it. So what's the lesson? Hire a crap team and then train them up. They don't have to be perfect. People learn fast. Every small business struggles with time because you value your time doing the work that gets you paid, but often you don't value the time that helps you grow your business. And there's 4 key areas you need to manage if you want to grow your business. The big 4 are marketing, sales, cash flow, and operations. So when you master each of these 4, your business will run itself and you get a serious amount of time back. But if you're too busy, then how can you possibly make time for the big 4? Well, here's the secret. Most business owners tell you they're busy, but are they busy doing the right thing? Your main priority in business should be about making a profit. Otherwise, it's not really a business, it's a charity. The problem is that as a business owner, it's not just about making space in your calendar, it's about making space in your mind. If you don't have space in your mind, you will feel overwhelmed and you will get panicked. Most people end up working harder and faster than when they feel overloaded, and that just makes matters worse. The biggest surprise I learned from my students who attend my Mindset Mastery program is the value of blocking off time and creating routines and rituals. Time for work, time for planning, and time for family. But the most important time is time for thinking. You need space in your mind, and to do that, you need to block off times where nothing is planned. Time to think and to organize your thoughts. Some use it for marketing or for planning. Personally, I block off large chunks of the day to think without distraction, no phone, no meetings, just me time. Why is this so important? Because when you run a successful business, you need rituals and routines that allow you to think, plan, adapt, and act. So if you don't have time to think, plan, adapt, and act, you'll end up missing critical steps. So when one of our students started to do this and he started to block off time for planning, he realized he kept skipping his marketing slot every week because he was too busy. And he said, okay, let me fix that. So once he started to build a non-negotiable routine around marketing again, he realized that new inquiries were more aligned with the people he really wanted to work with. So he finally was able to fire some of his most time-consuming customers, and he ended up tripling his sales. So what's the lesson here? The lesson is to create space in your mind by setting up routines and rituals that are non-negotiable. Now, if you want to learn more about how to master the big 4, then watch this video next.